hesitated because the topic I was given was to talk about women that have influenced my life. And I was given only 20 minutes to do that. And I groaned in my spirit. Because 20 minutes is not nearly enough time for me to talk about the dynamic women that have influenced and had an impact on my life. But I'll endeavor to be obedient and stick to the time frame. Now, before I tell you a little bit about those amazing women, let me show you and tell you the results of some of that influence. Now, there's an old adage that says a tree is known by its fruit. And I won't have to talk too much about the tree if you just let me talk a little bit about the fruit. I have been blessed and honored to raise 7 children. That's a lot of children. They're all surviving and thriving currently. My oldest son, Greg, left and went to New York City a year ago. He produced an off-Broadway award-winning musical. New York Times just blew it up. He just recently sold the rights to that musical. My daughter, Sandra Netta, has invented a garment. She has a patent on it. The garment protects newborn babies from the germs that are transmitted from the clothes to the baby that would make a baby sick. She's flown back and forth to China twice to oversee the manufacturing of that garment. And the garment is called the Cuddle Coat. My son Patrick is a very successful executive over at the Isles Casino in Pompano Beach. My son Braxton is a financial planner. In 2012, Governor Rick Scott appointed him to the board of directors of the college that used to be formerly known as Florida College. It's now called Florida Southwestern State College. Next slide. My daughter, Nalisa, and she's a twin, is a licensed esthetician. She's a skin therapist. Nalisa has a twin whose name is Nicholas, and we all have a child that struggles. Nicholas was my struggling child, but I'm happy to say that he's gotten himself on track and now has 2 jobs. So you know I'm a real happy mother about that. And Brandon, my youngest, has just been hired by the Publix Corporation. My grandson, oldest grandson, has starred in 2 television shows, national television shows, and has been a professional model since the age of 3. My granddaughter, Mallory Vanessa, just recently finished a class in bioinformatics, don't ask, from Penn State University. And just in case you don't have grandchildren, I'll share mine. Bryn Marie and Baron Carr. I did not tell you any of that to impress you. None of it. I showed you that to impress upon you the power of influence. So there is no mistake. All of those children grew up on 8th Street. We're on 9th floor, 8th Street, 2 streets over. They are products of the Collier City area. My children studied at this library. When it was open, and Maya Angelou was the guest that came. Not to impress you again, just to answer the question, can anything good come out of Collier City? Yes. So see this, Ollie, you kind of took my stuff there. And now let me tell you the rest of the story. Thanks, please. In 2010, she was at the ripe old, she was 90 years old when she passed away. She was born on a plantation in Gulf, Georgia in November 1919. She was 75 years old before it was recognized that she celebrated her birthday on the wrong day and in the wrong month. She was a rare breed of woman. Although she was not afforded a formal education, she worked diligently at many occupations. Now, her most notable occupation was that of a migrant worker. For those of you who don't know what that is, a migrant worker is an individual that travels from place to place looking for work. I am a product of a migrant worker. She traveled up and down the interstate looking for work. She went to the Carolinas, to New York, to Pennsylvania, to Virginia, and any other states that were harvesting vegetables, fruits, or any other types of commodities. She picked strawberries and sweet potatoes and white potatoes and celery and onions and peppers and tomatoes and tobacco and cotton. She did all of that. But most notably, she picked beans. For those of you who don't know how to pick beans, you pick beans crawling on your knees. She picked beans on a farm called Butts Farm, just a little bit west in Palm Beach County. She, along with her mother, her brothers, and her sister, lived on Butts Farm for many years. And of course, that's where she had me. Ollie Mae Cooper, my mother. Despite her limited opportunities in education, she instilled in me an insatiable desire for knowledge and just learning how to read and write, just a thirst for education. With barely the ability to read and write her own name for as long as I can remember who I am, my mother said to me, I want you to go to school and get, not G-E-T, G-I-T. Go to school and get your lesson. Now, some would wonder, how could that possibly be a platform that would transport me into 3 degrees and a 45-year career in the telecommunications industry? I'm reminded of a quote from Maya Angelou when she was talking about her mother. She said, my mother told me I must always be intolerant of ignorance, but always be understanding of illiteracy. Some people unable to go to school were more educated and more intelligent than college professors. Ollie Mae Cooper was one of those people. Now, along with Ollie Mae, there was Miss Juanita Denson, there was Miss Munnings, there was Miss Allison. These were all my teachers from Rhone Elementary School, a little wooden schoolhouse in the middle of Pearl City, which is in Boca Raton, Florida. It's in a black neighborhood. These ladies told me that I could be and do absolutely anything that I wanted to do and be. And given my circumstances at the time, I soaked that in. I believed everything that they told me. Now, real life is filled with many things. There are ups and downs, and successes and disappointments and peaks and valleys. But one thing is certain. If you live long enough, there'll be a time when you'll find yourself in a dark place and you'll be unable to find your way out without some help. It's during those times that I believe that God sends a light to guide you out of the darkness. For me, that light came through a lady with strong yet kind character. Her demeanor was soft, and as was her voice, and her kind words rescued me when I felt like I'd reached a point of no return. She was able to do this even after suffering from a stroke. that left her with the use of just one hand. During one of my darkest and most distressing moments, I can clearly recall sitting on the floor, putting my head in her lap, and saying to her, "Ma, I'm not gonna make it. I'm just not gonna make it." The pain was just unbearable. Nothing made sense to me at that time. I can remember her rubbing my head and very softly saying, "Yes, you will. You're gonna make it." She reminded me that God had not brought me that far to leave me. And if anything, if I have anything to say about it, you will make it. You're going to make it. She let me cry. She rubbed my head. She wiped my face. She coached and encouraged me until I was able to stand again on my own 2 feet. She encouraged me. She told me to look up. She reminded me that trouble does not last always. She helped me to see that my current situation was not my destiny. She told me how proud she was of me. And oh, how I needed to just hear that. Maybelle Thurston helped me to keep my sanity and remain spiritually grounded when everything inside of me said, give up and just quit. As a result of that experience, when dark times now come, I remember her as a candle and a way out of the darkness. And finally, there are the unforgettable lessons that I have learned from many women over the ages, some famous, some not so famous by the world standards. Many of them were movers and shakers in my life, and some of them sit in this audience. They taught me and lived the lesson of how a lady should carry herself, just like Miss Ollie talked about. They told me what looked good on me, and they loved me enough to tell me at times, well, you might want to think about wearing that in your next life. Don't wear that. They taught me how to exude confidence and yet be elegant. They taught me how to walk quietly in a room and command the attention of everybody in the room without making a sound. These are women, my sister friends, like Miss Annie B. Hoogley, who is by far the most creative and gracious woman I know. Annie can make an extraordinary space or anything she touches extraordinary. And my sister Maddie Brown, who taught me how to dress fashionably well and not spend a fortune. And then there's my classy sister Alice Chapman, who's been my friend since we were in first grade at Rhone Elementary School. And then there's my sister Joan Stockdale, who's taught me and continues to teach me how to travel, even when you have no money. And then there's my dear sisters, my sisters like Etta Bailey, who constantly reminds me that I am loved and appreciated. Little did any of these women know, I've watched all of them from afar without their ever knowing that they were teaching me lessons that helped to mold and shape me into the person I am today. My mission in life is not to merely survive and live my best life, but to be a source of hope and encouragement and an example of quiet greatness to others on my journey. As I look back over my life, I can clearly see how many of these women stepped into my life at such a crucial time. They listened, they taught, they advised, they laughed, some even cried with me. They guided me gently, and they shared what they had learned along the way. So now you can see how the pendulum swings both ways. The influence I have over my children and others are a direct result of the women that had an influence over me. The women that influenced me helped me to do that. I owe a debt of gratitude to all of these women that I've mentioned, as well as the many that time did not allow me to mention. I seek to pay this debt daily. I do this by extending my compassion, my resources, my patience, my service. I take what so many of them have given me and I give it away, and thus these women, continue to live. When I look for strong women, I look for Elizabeth Massey's. When I look for women that have stick-to-itiveness and women that persevere even when they should stop, I look to Leila Collins. I can only hope that each day that I'm given the gift of life, that I represent these amazing and phenomenal women well. That is the prayer that I pray each day, that I, the migrant worker's daughter, the one whose children grew up in Collier City, where it is thought that nothing good will come, I hope that I am able to influence others. I thank you, and I bid you Godspeed.